Di Ankh Mira. Hotep family, welcome to lesson 12, the written word, Seti 1. Please like, share, subscribe. The primary objective of this course is to be able to read the sacred script of our African ancestors, Medu Neter. We are all students and teachers. So in this lesson, I'm going to focus on this particular set of meta-nature. We've actually seen this in several lessons earlier. In this lesson, I'm going to focus on reading this text. This text is to be read from top to bottom, from right to left, and that's because we're reading into the faces of the seated neters and the animals. The bottom right-hand side, we can see a canoe. Inside that canoe, we could see primarily the men board the ripple of water and the reed leaf that is pronounced as Mena. The next canoe we can see moving to the right as the goddess or the Nechuret Ma'at inside with the symbol for the solar disk Ra and the men board at the bottom. We read that as Men Ma'at Ra. That name is Men Ma'at Ra. And then there are two Hinu on the far left. We see the first Hinu is Nefer Netcher, beautiful Netcher. And again, that is Men Ma'at Ra, followed by the Sa Ra, son of Ra. And inside of that Hinu is the Medu Netcher for Ptah, Mary, and Seti. We simply are, this ruler is usually identified as Seti 1. So when we're called upon to identify these chief kings, as some will say, or pharaohs, as other people might say, or Sultan, as they identify themselves, we can use Dr. Ben's Black Man of the Nile and his family as a reference. So this Sultan, as we saw before, is Men Ma'at Ra, and he is identified as the fourth Nasut of the 19th dynasty. The 19th dynasty lasting from 1340 before the Common Era to 1232 before the Common Era. Seti I is known as the father of Ramesses II. So we can match up the Shanu on the top left-hand side with the name of the Sultan in Dr. Ben's book. We see that there's some variations in the second Shanu, but the first Shanu is exactly the same. It is as Men Ma'at Ra, written horizontally and from left to right as opposed to top to bottom from right to left. The second Shindu, the Sa Ra name, we do see the Ptah, but there's variations in terms of how Mary is presented and Seti is presented. So we see that the authors of these names, or the people who wrote their names, could use sort of different lettering. So when I first saw this image in the tour, on the tour, the tour guide suggested and explained that in this case we have the pharaoh, as he said, Seti I, giving some sort of information to his son Ramesses II. That's a plausible interpretation, and not being able to read the sacred script, I guess we could accept that, or at least I accepted that. But now I would like to take us to the level of trying to read exactly, or to the best of our ability, what is going on in this image. So, applying information from earlier lessons, we're going to try to transliterate and translate this text into English. So, starting at the top right-hand side, we see the I. We see partially the suit plant, and below that, the loaf of bread. So this is transliterated is arit, suit. Below that, I'm going to go down to the ripple of water, the suit plant, again, followed by the loaf of bread, which is a phonetic complement. And then we have another ripple of water. We transliterate that as nasut or nasutin or sutin, depending on who's doing the translation. I'm going to read this as nasutin men. So we know that is the representative or pharaoh or ruler of Upper Egypt, Sutin Mena. The main body of text is separated by 7 vertical lines, creating 6 columns or 6 statements. Each statement begins with the Egyptian cobra and the walking stick, which is transliterated with DJT, or transliterated DJ-T, and pronounced jet. And it is associated with the idea of speaking. At the bottom right, reading from right to left again, we see in the first column, we see the Shanu that we identified earlier of Men Ma'at Ra, while in the last column, it ends with the I, the Aset throne, and a seated Netcher. And we hopefully know that that is the name of the Netcher, Usir. So we will approach this by reading each column separately. So the first column would give us Geti Nasutin Men Ma'at Ra. Geti Nasutin Men Ma'at Ra. Possible translation, or the translation that I'm going to offer, is the representative of Upper Kemet, Men Ma'at Ra, says this, or this is said by Men Ma'at Ra, the representative or chief king of Upper Kemet. So in this column, we see the Yeti, and then we see followed by the water jug on legs and the Netcher symbol, which I think has some implications for the essence of Netcher. So I'm going to transliterate that, or translate that as spoken in the moving spirit of Netcher. Then we have the mouth, the pool, and the leg and foot, which is our SHB. Then we have the tongue of Sandyland, followed by the plural strokes. So that somehow would give us Rishab, Reshvu, RSHBU. I don't know how to pronounce that. But again, that represents again, to or from some areas of land. And then we have the horned viper, which is his. And then we have an interesting way to write Ket. So we have the twisted flax with the top, the twisted flax, which is the phonetic complement of and then we have the placenta, which is KH, and the loaf of bread T. So that would give us ket. N, it finishes off with the ripple of water, which is the N. So again, we're trying to make English out of this sacred, these sacred symbols, but somehow we get it is spoken in the essence of nature from the lands, the sandy lands of his horizon. All right. That's about the best I could come up with that. So this column has all the familiar signs that we've seen. We have Jeti Sutin Nu. So we have it spoken by the representatives of Upper Kemet, Biti U, Biti U. Again, this is the representatives of Lower Egypt. And so somehow, I guess a good translation might be it is spoken by or is told by the representatives of Upper and Lower Ta Marie or Upper and Lower Kemet. So moving on to the next column, we have Jeti. Then we have a symbol which I could not find a classification for in terms of what it represents, but it is used to symbolize authority. And then we have the face, the head facing forward, what it is, and the basket with the handle, which is your. So somehow this again could suggest that it is spoken with his or your authority. Below that, we have the basket again, or the door. I'm not sure. It's translated, or is identified as both, depending on where you look. So we have the basket, the loaf of bread, and the twisted flax, which hopefully again we might recognize that that is pita. So if we put those ideas together, it is somehow could be translated as spoken with the authority of pita. And then we have shek, sheker, sheker, suder, f. And sheker, or the doorbell with the basket, uh, is considered to be this. I don't know why, but that's the translation I saw. This. So we have this, and reshuter. F is this. Uh, we would identify that as the southern wall or southern place. Again, loose translation. It is spoken with the authority of Ptah uh, from or at this southern place or at his southern place. So in this column we have Yeti Ma, which is translated as "Behold, I say, the reed leaf and the walking legs, come see, come, Ari, the I and the reed leaf, come see, and in this case is, I'm going to say he and ek, and I'm going to suggest that is who comes before you, who precedes you in ek. So in this column, we see the jetty, and then we see the ripple of water, and there's a symbol that's right above the uchik. The ripple of water and the uchik are the phonetic complements of that symbol, and so that symbol is nu. And nu is translated in English as this, or speak this, this spoken. And then we have the placenta. Placenta relates to creation. So speak this creation or existence. Ari is again C, N, C of Heru, and Tef, Usir. So when a C of Heru, this belonging to Usir. I'm not 100% sure how to effectively translate that into English, but it is, again, somehow this is spoken for us to see Heru and belonging to Usir. So here goes my best translation, or the best I can come up with. Starting again from right to left, we have spoken by Sutan Men Ma'at Ra, spoken as the moving spirit of nature from the sandy lands to his place in the south. Spoken by or of representatives or Nasuts of Upper Kemet and Lower Kemet. Spoken with the authority of Ptah from his place in the south. Behold, come to see he who comes before you. This spoken for you to see Heru as Usir. Beautiful Nefer, beautiful Necher or Nefer Necher, Men Ma Ra, Sa Ra, Mary and Seti. So just to connect this back to what we see in Dr. Ben's Black Man in the Now and his family, the Shanu, the first Shanu that is being displayed, that Seti is again showing to the young man who we're gonna uh, have to accept it or assume that this is Ramesses II. The first Shanu that he is indicating is the Shanu of the first Nasut of the first dynasty, and that is the Nasut Mena. And that was from 3200 to 2980 and before the Common Era. That is some 1,000 years before Seti showed this information to Ramesses II. So we have information to indicate that Mena, who is also somehow known as Norma, uh, was the first uh, Nasut Biti to unite the what we would consider upper and lower Nile valleys, which we now identify as Egypt, but ancients call Tamari or Kemet. And we also can see that there were eight representatives or rulers or chief kings from this dynasty or from this family. So it's pretty valuable in my head to be able to read the text. And if we looked at more of the names that Seti shared with his son Ramesses II, we would see that there are other names that Dr. Ben identifies in his book. I actually had a lesson on that. I can't remember which specific lesson, but we did look at those. We did make a comparison earlier on. So this brings us to the end of this lesson. It was, for me, one of the more challenging ones. But again, this is what the goal is, to be able to read the Medu Neter, and I will spend more time during the next few lessons to try to do that. Meanwhile, if there are any questions, comments, concerns, please feel free to message me, and I will try to get back to you. So, Di Ankh Mira, Shem Hotep.